Welcome to the Rhode Island State Archives and Public Records Administration webinar, Digital Records, Characteristics, Management, and Responsibilities. The Rhode Island State Archives and Public Records Administration is a part of the Rhode Island Department of State Office of the Secretary of State and is under the Division of Archives, Library, and Public Information. We are responsible for the State Archives, which preserves and makes available public records from 1638 through the present, as well as the Public Records Administration, which provides records management assistance and storage services to state agencies, and we also provide advice on records management to local government. In this webinar, we'll provide you with a basic overview of digital records and digital records management. So we will go over some basic definitions, the benefits and challenges posed by digital records in the workplace, some basic digital records management principles and preservation strategies, and how we here at the State Archives and Public Records Administration can assist. So let's go over some basic definitions. Public records are defined under Rhode Island General Law, Section 38-1-1.1, and it means all records, regardless of their physical form or characteristics, which are made or received pursuant to law or ordinance, or in connection with the transaction of official business by any agency. Born digital records are records that have been natively created in a digital format, such as email, Word documents, and spreadsheets, whereas digitized records are records that began in a paper format and have been scanned or microfilmed or otherwise digitized so that they are available in a digital format. Obsolescence is a term that comes into play with the digital record environment because of the accessibility of digital records, which is dependent on hardware and software and operating systems to be human readable. So digital records can potentially become inaccessible in their original format through the obsolescence of the hardware and or software and or operating systems that they operate within. If any of those systems becomes obsolete, they will no longer be able to open that record. It is not sufficient to simply retain records in their digital format. The records and their associated metadata must be in a format that is viewable with current technology. So you need to plan for the obsolescence and technological change and have strategies in place for either migration, conversion, or reformatting of records. Records management is the field of management that is responsible for the systematic control of the creation, maintenance, use, and disposition of records. From the state government perspective, it is the planning, controlling, directing, organizing, training, promoting, and other managerial activities involved in records creation, maintenance, and use, and the disposition in order to achieve adequate and proper documentation of the policies and transactions of the government and the effective and economical management of agency operations. Records management addresses the life cycle of the records. That is the period of time that records are in the custody of agencies. The records control schedules are documents that establish the official retention, maintenance, and disposal requirements for a record series or type of record based on its administrative, legal, fiscal, and historic value for the records that are scheduled. This is discussed in Rhode Island General Law, Section 38-3-2, and all approved records management schedules, both general record schedules, state agency record schedules, and local government schedules are available on the State Archives website. So let's talk about when a record is a public record. Some questions to ask yourself. Does it concern public business? Well, public business is any record that is made or received by any governmental agency in pursuance of law or in connection with the transaction of public business and preserved or appropriate for preservation by the agency or its legitimate successor as evidence of the organization, the functions, the policies, decisions, procedures, operations, or other activities of the government, or because the value of the official government data contained therein. Does it serve a public function? And which office sent it? If it was sent as a part of official business by any government body, it is probably considered a public record. So when is a record not a public record? When it's a duplicate copy used for convenience or reference, if it's an email that you received as part of a distribution list, or any miscellaneous notifications of meetings, holiday charitable campaigns, meeting room reservations, etc. Casual communications and personal messages, and any record that does not document or is not related to the transaction of government business would probably not be considered a public record. So most of us are dealing with born digital records. They are what we are creating as part of our daily work, and they have a great number of benefits over their paper record predecessors. The benefits are we can create and edit them instantly. With proper file naming conventions, we can locate, retrieve, and distribute them much quicker. It eases communication between departments, staff, and offices. It can improve the business processes. The storage footprint can be much less than a paper records. We have multiple options for media and document types, and it allows for a great deal of information sharing opportunities. So let's talk about some of the challenges of born digital records. The sheer volume of records being created in a digital environment far exceed what was being created in a paper environment, so information overload can be a problem. We also run into issues with authenticity and reliability of digital records that are easier to manipulate. Security and privacy concerns can also be a problem. It is easier to share digital records far and wide, and so locking them down and sharing them only within a certain group can be more difficult than it was for a paper record. As we discussed briefly in the definition section, obsolescence is a primary concern when dealing with born digital records. You need both the hardware, software, and operating system to still be functioning properly to show the record in a human readable format. This requires a continual investment of time and budget for all state and local government. The volume and the disorganization of information can be overwhelming. We'll talk about a little bit of that in the file naming section of this webinar. Version control and the maintenance of the platforms is also something that will be an ongoing concern that we will discuss a little bit later. So we have discussed both the benefits and the challenges posed by digital records. And let's talk about why you should institute some record management principles to organize and maintain your records. Good records management will allow you the ability to perform the core mission of your agency. You will be able to effectively retrieve and dispose records. It will ensure that you are compliant with all regulatory and legal mandates. It will help you safeguard the important information contained in your records, as well as allow you to cut costs and become more efficient. It allows for better management decision-making, and allows for the preservation of agency knowledge and the control of the generation and growth of new records. So let's talk about some of the consequences of poor records management. There will be an inability for you to perform the core mission of your agency or resume operations after a disaster. You could face legal penalties for failure to find and produce records on request, and you will face public distrust due to the inability to produce controversial or requested records upon request. There will be a cost for remediation of any damaged records that have not yet met retention, and you will have an inability to find pertinent information in a timely manner. So let's talk about your responsibilities in records management. In a digital environment, you are creating the record, you are classifying the record, you are storing the record, and you are maintaining the record. And under the law, you are responsible for creating records that accurately and completely document what was decided, promised, delivered, or done, and managing these records by placing them in a well-designed agency information or record system. You may not be responsible for storing and maintaining the record yourself, but your agency or IT has set up a structure by which to network and store these records for the time required under their retention. So you need to create and classify them in a way that allows for easy retrieval and easy disposition when they have met retention.